We today are talking about something that is so fun and exciting: credit card transaction fees. Oh, yay. Oh my gosh. Don't stop listening. Don't stop listening. It's actually going to be really good. What we're talking about today is something that I've seen a lot with clients that I work with across the country. I see chat boards talking about it on social media, and that is adding a surcharge on top of credit card transaction, basically like a transaction fee. And different shops are doing it in different ways, but there's a lot of questions around it. And even shops that are interested, they just aren't sure if that's the best fit for them. So I invited my buddy Jeremy on today, and we're going to talk about that. What does it look like? And if that might be something that you might want to implement in your shop. And then we also talk about just generically how credit card statements and fees actually work, because there's so much misinformation out there and there's so many sleazy salesmen. It really pisses me off. So anyway, Jeremy's going to shoot it to us today, straight up, just like we like it, on today's episode of Body Bangin'.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Body Bangin' Podcast. We are talking today with a friend of mine, Jeremy Scott, and we are talking about something that I hear a lot of shops that are frustrated with this topic, and that is, well, money in general, fees and costs. And Jeremy works with a company called Car Connect, and he's been with them for 22 years and been doing merchant services for 22 years. What is merchant services? Basically like credit card processing. And Jeremy's been a friend of mine for a very long time, and he actually does my merchant services. So thank you, Jeremy.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yes. And thank you for coming on the show, because this is something I want to talk about that a lot of owners of any type of business, because Jeremy's helped a lot of my clients, a lot of my friends, reduce the amount of money that they're having to pay every time somebody swipes a credit card. And we're not just talking about $10, $15 a month. We're talking hundreds and thousands of dollars a month that he could help save you. And then there's another topic we'll get into a little bit later. I want you to stay tuned for, that some shops are taking advantage of, where they actually put like a surcharge on top of the credit card transaction so that you're able to minimize the amount of the fees that you have to pay. So if that sounds a little bit complicated, we'll talk about it more towards the end. But yeah, so Jeremy, hello.
Hi.
Hi. So
good to be here.
Yeah, you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, 22 years. It's gotten nothing but more difficult and complicated over time as I started doing it until today. It used to be like you were charged a few different rates and that's it. And then it just got more and more complicated. The credit card companies themselves started charging different rates for different card types. Like, everybody these days uses a rewards card. Well, where do you think the rewards come from? They come from the merchant. So,
right.
It's not going to come from Visa themselves. They're not going to share what they're making. So, ultimately, I've found the biggest problem within merchant services, I mean, there's a ton, obviously, is that it's very confusing. And unless you actually talk to somebody that will explain it to you and have it make sense to you in plain English, most people look at their statements and say, I don't even know what it is. I just say I pay this percent overall, and I don't even know anymore. And they're frustrated. And some of them are so frustrated that they don't even want to talk about it, because they've already gotten 20 calls that week from some telemarketer from who knows what company saying, hi, how's your merchant account? And they're like, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So, I've actually built my business from going into businesses and establishing a rapport. So that's how I've built myself up. And I've always prided myself on giving them a much different experience, because I've heard from pretty much 90% of people I've dealt with have told me that, oh, I started with this, I was promised this, and then it went up and it wasn't what the guy promised. And then the guy doesn't call me, or he's not there anymore, or whatever it is. And so it's like, I only give out my cell number. I always answer it. Or, I mean, realistically, with robocalls now, I kind of screen them a little bit.
Right.
But I do call back, as soon as possible, figure out what they need. And I mean, I honestly rarely hear from my merchants because they're pretty well set.
Right. Well, and I think you touched on something that's really important is a lot of us, as a business owner now, I used to own my own shop. And I remember when my statement would come in, my credit card statement would come in. I just assumed the costs were what the costs were. And there was really, it didn't really matter who I went to. It just was what it was. And I've learned so much, and really I've learned a lot with your help. And I appreciate that you took the time to explain it in plain English so that I could understand. And I'll never forget one of my clients that I sent over to Jeremy. They had been told by some other person, oh, we're going to give you this rate and it's X, Y, and Z. And so I said, Jeremy, would you mind just taking a peek? Because this doesn't sound right to me. And so Jeremy looked at it, and this is a client where he saved them thousands of dollars a month. I mean, same service, right? You're still able, the customer can still swipe their card. The transaction still goes through, but the business owner that's listening to this, or manager, your company is able to keep more of those funds rather than give them off to the merchant service company, which I guess is where, if I'm understanding it correctly, where the discrepancy happens, right?
Yeah, it's just the problem in my industry is a lot of dishonesty. People will go out there looking to just get the deal done, no matter what it takes. They don't care. They're not thinking of the future. They're thinking of now. And they don't think about, hey, once I upset this person, they realize that it's not what I said, they're gone. I mean, I rarely lose people. And typically when I do, it's I retired or something like that. Because I don't charge for the equipment, which is huge because most companies, I mean, there is a cost to me, but it's a cost of doing business. And I believe that if you can establish trust and say, you'll save, no obligation, no contract, and let me know if you need anything. And then it's smooth sailing. So,
Well, one thing I wanted to say is if you have, for people listening, if you have somebody that you're working with and you're wondering if your contract is above board, if you're getting ripped off, or if you're getting a really good deal, I've had clients give me their statements and they've approved me to pass them along to Jeremy. And Jeremy will look at them for you and say, actually, this is really good. There's been a couple instances where he's like, yeah, they have great rates, great contract. Let them ride, go with it. And then there's other times where he's been like, wow, I don't think that they realize they're paying this. Then there's a charge for that. And they're also charging them for that. If they switched over to me, they would not be paying any of this. So that's an option for people listening, is if you just kind of want to do an audit of what's going on with your merchant services account, Jeremy does it. And I assume you would do it for free. I know he does it for free for me.
I mean, there's no hurt in anything. It takes me 2 seconds to look at a statement and see what they're paying.
Right.
The hope is always, yes, their rates are bad, but I get a variety. I get a lot of people, their rates are awful. That's what I always hope for, because then it's like, hey, you're getting ripped off and here's what I could save you. And things will be great now. And then sometimes it's like, your deal's okay. And, I could save you some. I want to be realistic with people. I want them to switch in good faith, knowing that it's going to be what they expect. If I tell them I'll save you $500 a month, I want them to see that and be happy about it. So that's the goal.
And in the collision industry, the reason why I really felt the need or the desire to bring you on is because, everybody listening knows that we are battling for money right now. We've got the insurance companies that don't want to pay. It seems like we're paying out in every way possible. So as trying to be part of the solution, where are some ways where we can save money? Because this is an expense potentially that you don't need to be paying to the level that you're paying. So if nothing else, I'm going to put Jeremy's information in the description. Email him, reach out to him, text him, call him, and at least get a second opinion on what's going on. Because like you said, if he could save you $500, heck yeah, who the heck doesn't want to save $500, $500 every month for 12 months. Now we're talking. So, and oftentimes it's more than that. So there's that option. But then I want to talk about something that I've read a lot about in the chat boards recently. And shop owners are frustrated, understandably so, because somebody puts these massive repairs on a credit card, but yet, we're already dealing with such small profit margins because we're dealing with what insurance will allow and all of these fun things. So now the person puts it on a credit card and now your profit's even lower. So we see all kinds of different things happening. Some people are charging a certain percentage more because somebody's using a credit card. But now it can mess with your books because now you're showing a higher number in sales. So you're going to get taxed on a higher number. So is that really the best way to go? And then I did see somebody that had found a merchant service partner that allowed them to put a surcharge on each transaction. So I reached out to Jeremy and I was like, this sounds like a really great idea. If a shop was interested, have you done something like this? What are you doing with that? And so I'm going to let him talk about it, but it's something at least to consider for your shop, because this might be a nice way to mitigate those costs even more so. So go ahead and Jeremy and kind of explain how that works.
Sure. So yeah, what it's commonly referred to, we call it the merchant surcharge program. Some companies call it a cash discount program. Either way, they're the same exact thing.
Okay.
And they work principally the same, where you get charged one flat rate instead of various rates. And so our rate is 3.5% flat, which is on the low side. I've seen the range is 3.5 to 3.99 that I've seen in various businesses. A lot of them have signs up because you have to legally post a sign saying for all credit card purchases, there will be a surcharge of, in our case, 3.5%.
Okay.
So what happens is you ring through the sale. I'll use an easy number, $1,000. So you ring through $1,000. And then the terminal automatically figures 3.5% on that. So it's $35. So it'll show two line items, purchase price, and then surcharge amount, and then total. In this case, $1,035. Then the person signs off on it, that they verify it. So essentially, the 3.5 that the merchant is paying is being now offset immediately by the customer. So at the end of the month, your fees for processing are zero. One of the things I really don't like is there's a lot of deceptive marketing out there I get merchants of mine calling me. I mean, most of them have enough sense to say, okay, this looks like total nonsense, but companies will send out flyers and they'll say flat monthly fee of $50 for your credit card processing. Okay, so we have to think here. Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and Discover all charge a percentage. They're not going to eat the cost because somebody else decided, we don't like that.
Right.
So what it is, it's this program. So your costs are, canceled out by the surcharge, but you still have a monthly fee with that company that I gave $50. So I charge $18.50 a month is the only monthly fee. So it's actually less. I mean, we're not talking huge dollar amounts, but I just think to be fair, you need to call it what it is and say, if you want to surcharge people, here's what it would end up in the end versus saying, the total you'll pay is this, because all you're hoping to do is generate a phone call. And then the person's going to be disappointed once they find out what it really is.
Right.
So again, shooting straight, being upfront, saying it how it is. So that's essentially what the merchant surcharge program is. And again, I don't charge for the terminal. So you get the terminal that works with it. There's no contract obligation. The terminal is theirs to use as long as they're with me. So that essentially is that program. What I did notice was some shops that I went into kind of thought it sounded like a great idea, but then they would say, I don't know if that would work with my customers. I don't want to upset people or whatever it is. So the alternative is I've offered what's called interchange plus pricing, which is what your account is on, where all the different rates that are set by the credit card companies, that's called interchange. It's cost that goes directly to them. I see none of that.
Right.
So what I would do on a normal type of setup that's not surcharging is I just charge 0.1% and 5 cents above cost. And cost, again, is variable. Rates are anywhere from 0.5% up to, close to 3%, just based on what kind of card you run.
Right.
If you do it face-to-face or over the phone, it's a little different. But the goal is just to find the best alternative for people in what's going to work for their business and everything else. Plus, one thing I want to add, just going back to the surcharge thing, what a lot of them don't say in their advertising, and I like to make clear, is it only applies to credit cards because different rules are set for different kind of cards. So if a person gives you a debit card, it's unlikely because the whole idea here is they don't have the money.
Right.
So they're using their credit card.
Yes.
But if they do use a debit card, the surcharge cannot be added because debit cards are regulated. So you can't charge them 3.5% for that debit card purchase. So the rate on debit cards on the surcharge specific setup is 1.25% and 25 cents. What I suggest to somebody is if they say, I want to run everything, but through the surcharge thing, maybe put a sign up indicating that it's credit cards only. And if you're going to pay by debit, they prefer cash or check. Right. And then that way they save the money.
Right. So it's called an intercharge. You said that's what it's called for the
interchange.
Yeah,
I know.
Interchange.
Most people that have been taking credit cards for years, I say, do you know what interchange means? And they say no. So it means nothing to anybody except for me. And I can look at a statement and see it all. And it all looks the same to me. It's like body shop guys looking at dents and paint. You know?
Right.
It's their everyday thing. They look at it all the time. Nothing confusing to them. But to merchants, they look at it and it's like, whoa, I've got 10 pages of pure confusion here. I don't know what's going on.
Yes. Hey, would you like to increase the number of cars in your drive? Well, look no further. The Mickey Woods marketing team provides collision center specific marketing. We use proven techniques to not only increase your sales, but put money in your pocket. Visit us at collisioncentermarketing.com, or you can find my personal contact information in the show notes. And let's get your 2022 off to a body banging start. Okay, so just to I'm going to rephrase it a little bit just for my pea brain, just in case somebody missed some of it. Just
give
to kind of
yourself some credit. Make it a walnut at least.
Big whoop. Okay, so we've got one thing that I found really interesting when I was learning about merchant services. So, and a lot of you may already know this, so excuse me if you do, but you've got the charge that the actual credit card company. So if somebody's swiping a Visa, a MasterCard, Amex, typically the charges are different. Amex is usually higher. And then if they have like a bonus program, like rewards program, then the percentage is even higher.
Right.
Because that's how that's how they're bonusing you. That's how you're getting the rewards, which I think is so funny. Once I learned that, it totally shifted my perspective on rewards programs. Anyway, okay. So those percentages and those costs, they're set. There's no way around those. They are what they are. If somebody uses a credit card, you got to give the credit card company what they're owed. So Jeremy, nor anybody else, which I've heard people claim that they can adjust those. They cannot. Those are set in stone. So that's one manipulative technique that I've personally seen with my clients. So just to clear that up, there's those fees. Then on top of it, then you have your merchant fees, I guess we'll call them. I don't know what the proper term is. The merchant fees. And that's how Jeremy and his company make money.
Yeah.
And so then that's where, no matter who you're dealing with, that's where the play of that percentage comes from, because some companies will take more, some companies will take less.
Right.
I know for Jeremy, like he was saying, it's 0.01% on Is that right? 0.01%?
Yeah, so it's 0.1% on my standard, not on the surcharge, but the interchange plus. So we're talking a
Like a
dollar per
standard credit
thousand
card.
is my markup. And another good thing to add when you're talking about, past experience and whatnot is a lot of people will offer something from the get-go, but then every year it goes up, or sometimes every
Right.
6 months the
Yes.
company will increase it.
Yes.
And I will tell you, because I'm an independent rep and I get all of my own business, I have full control of it. So what happens is all companies do increases. There is no company I've ever seen that flat out doesn't do increases, because
Right.
realistically, why wouldn't they? If they can try to make more money
Right.
off people,
Yeah.
people don't like the hassle of switching. So then they call in
Yeah.
and complain, like I do with DirecTV every year. Hey, I'm canceling.
Yeah.
You just doubled my bill. Okay, we'll lower it back, but if you don't call, you
Right.
don't want to switch because you like the service. But
Yes.
so maybe it's a bad example, but you know what I mean.
I get you. I get you.
So the thing is, I get a notification. It's always in April when the company does its increase, and they give me a chance to submit them all the accounts that I don't want touched. I keep a running spreadsheet. Every time I set up an account, I just add it. So then what happens is when it comes February, when they say April increase is coming, I submit the spreadsheet, nothing changes.
Mhm.
So that's the beauty of having more of a personal relationship, because I
Right.
think people don't value that enough these days, and they maybe don't think about it, and they say, oh, I signed up through my bank or something like that. And it's like, do you have somebody that you can call specifically when you need something? Well, no, I just call the 800 number. Well, I mean, I'm not tech support, believe me, but I have people that will sometimes call me and say, hey, our terminal says this on it or whatever. And if I know the answer, I'll say, oh, you know what, just do that. Or, I'm there to help them.
Right.
And that's
Right.
not the norm.
Yeah. Well, and the price increase, that's one thing that I have noticed that I'm glad you noted is, and now that I know better, that you don't have to have a price increase every year on your account, when I assumed for so long that was just part of it. But now that I have clients and myself that I run my credit cards with Jeremy, a lot of my clients do, that they don't have that increase. And with inflation everywhere else, isn't that nice that we don't have it at least there? So I appreciate that.
I mean, I can say I would love to make more money off every account. I mean, who wouldn't?
Of course,
but
yes.
If I keep them happy and then they refer me people,
That's
and
right.
it goes on and on and on, that adds up quicker than making that little bit more on those few accounts.
Right.
So that's kind of, I think, more long term.
Yeah.
Obviously, 22 years in. Geez.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of body shop people that are listening to this feel the same way. Like we do right by our customer. We could do it shady to send people off just to get that car through and just to cash that check, but we want them to come back. So, and that's why I think people appreciate Jeremy's honesty and straightforward approach with things. It's never, it's always clarity, which I like. Anytime I work with anybody and things start getting funky and I start not being able to understand, alarm bells go off, because it's like, what are we trying to hide here? Why are we being so vague? This should not be this difficult. So, yeah. Okay. So kind of going back. So Jeremy charges the 0.1% on top of what your credit card fee is with the actual credit card company. And then we have the surcharge thing. So just to kind of recap on that, because I do see shops doing that now and they're loving it, because then at the end of the month, their payout, like their cost of their merchant fees, is like really nothing. I mean, it's minimal, right?
Yeah. And if you really think about it, I mean, I ended up on the consumer end of this when I was buying something for my house, and I didn't have the money available because I was doing upgrades on my house, And so they said, oh, we charge an extra percentage for credit card purchase. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of need it. So go ahead. I'm not going to complain about it. And really, it's like, so people sometimes need to actually look at the actual dollar amount. So I used $1,000. I mean, if I paid $1,035 versus $1,000 for something that I needed, am I really going to be that upset? But you, as the merchant, you're running lots of those $1,000 sales. So then if you can keep that, then it's great. So that's why I said, everybody is different. My goal is offer you what the options are, see what works for you, and then hopefully I can help you. That is my whole goal.
Right. Yeah. And I wanted to talk about it today. Hearing now this become a much more popular thing, the surcharge thing in shops, that I thought, you know what, let's talk about it. Let's let people know that the option is there, and potentially, you know, who you're working with right now, reach out to them if it's something you're interested in, hear what they're doing if they have a program like that, if you're interested, and then reach out to Jeremy and get a second opinion. I mean, why not? Why not check it out? I'm always, whenever I do work on my house or anything, you've got people getting estimates that drive into your drive and they get an estimate on something. But the problem with a vehicle is you get an estimate on body damage, then you go down the street to somebody else and get a different estimate. It's not apples to apples. We're talking apples to apples. So you can easily get a competitive, actual real quote of you're going to receive the same basic transaction, the ability to make transactions. Nothing changes. It's just how much are you going to pay for it and how are you going to go about it? So that would be my suggestion. And like Jeremy said, there's so much misinformation and there's so much like slimy sales techniques around it. And I've only seen it with my clients. I have not been doing this 22 years. It barely comes on my radar, but when it does, I'm appalled and I'm like, what? They're doing what? You've got to be kidding me. So I thought, as a podcast that's trying to get information out there to help business owners to be better, for businesses to be better, let's take advantage. This is one of those things that's out there that we can do easily and fairly quickly. And you can start saving yourself some money and make things a little bit easier for yourself. So yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say, Jeremy? Because I feel like we got the gist of it. And of course, if you have questions, reach out to Jeremy because he's the professional. Don't ask me because I'll make a mess of it. I just know the general.
Well, I know as exciting a topic as merchant services is, we could probably talk about this all day. But the only thing I will always say, and this has always been one of my kind of like sayings, I guess, because I've gone out to get all my own accounts for years, is unless you are in love with the rep, not in love, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In love with the rep / company that you are using is definitely worth talking to me, because if you don't have anything binding you together with them, no personal feeling, nothing or anything like that, and you want somebody that's more a point of contact to be there for you and be honest, that's what I would hope for. So hopefully some people are open to talking about it and I can help them. That's all I'm shooting for.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we're just here to help. And I actually did have a client that Jeremy ended up working with, and he was being told all kinds of things. And they had told him like he was under contract. And so the owner approved me to pass things along to Jeremy. And Jeremy's like, there's actually no contract here. They do not, he is not indebted to this company. He does not need to stay with them. And these are actually the additional fees they are paying that they don't need to pay, that they wouldn't pay with me. And so sometimes what your rep will tell you versus what your contract says or non-contract, it's always good to get a second opinion. And man, that client, I think you know who I'm talking about, was very eye-opening for me. It was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, if we're thinking about the same one, that was the same one where he was offering him not surcharge, because that wasn't a thing at that time. He was offering interchange plus. He was offering 1% versus my 0.1. But what he was telling him was 1% is the total that he would pay, which is a flat out lie, because that's impossible. And once I pointed that out, then it was like, oh, okay, yep, I see it says interchange plus 1% and yours says interchange plus 0.1. But why explain it that way? Again, you're going to lose that person very soon. So what's the point of it all?
Yeah, I know. Well, and there were fees on there and that 1%, and that's all you'll pay. But what about the credit card company's fees? No, you don't pay any of that.
Yeah.
Well, what about these other fees?
What
about all these other fees that are listed? It was like, wow, people will literally say anything. So in an industry where we're trying to be transparent, we're trying to do things above board. Gosh, this is one area where I see a lot of deceit, and it just pisses me off, to be honest with you. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on, Jeremy, and talking
absolutely.
about something
Thank
that,
you for having me.
yeah, I know isn't like, ooh, yay, so fun. But
I can make pretty much anything fun. So
yes, this is
just
true.
keep that in mind.
Yeah,
So
Jeremy's
can
a funny
you.
guy. We have a fun time.
I'm holding back a little, I gotta say.
Yes, I know. You're very reserved.
I know. I'm just being professional.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. So I will put Jeremy's information in the description. Reach out to him with any questions, any concerns. He could take a look at whatever you got going on. And if you're interested in the surcharge thing, you could always try it, right? They could try it. And if they feel like it doesn't work, they could switch over, just do it regular.
Yeah, I've had that happen a few times where people said, that sounds great. They set it up, and for their business model, it didn't work. And they said, can we change it? And I sent over an addendum. We changed it and done.
Done. Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah, if shops are interested, it could definitely be something. I know if I own my shop again, I would definitely be considering it for sure.
I will say, just in closing, that when I was going business to business, getting accounts, I focused a lot on the medical industry, and I knew it wasn't going to be a fit for them. So I had experience with retail and either auto body, auto repair, whatever it is. And I noticed that out of all industries, it was most common to have the surcharge program in auto related. And I mean, there were numerous shops I saw that already had it in place.
Yeah.
So it's very common.
Yeah. And it's not something that's new, although we feel like, a lot of us feel like it's new because we've not heard of it before. This isn't something that's just brand new on the scene.
Yeah. I want to say it's been around for at least 4 years now.
Yeah. Right.
So, but I think people wait to see sometimes, like, is somebody else going to do it?
Yeah.
It's
you
like
try it.
It's like being the one that's first to the food at the party. You wait for somebody else to go get in there, and then you're like, oh, it's okay now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So same kind of thing. It's like, all right, well, let me see if other people do it and see if it works for them. And then I might think about it. So
yes. Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I appreciate you, Jeremy, coming on.
Thank you.
Always good to see you, even if it's virtually. And thanks everybody for listening to today's episode of Body Bangin', and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.